Can definitely start. Perfect. So, hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new MedTech webinar from ProductLife Group. Today, we will be discussing the topic of market access strategy for device reimbursement in Europe. We are blessed to have here three speakers with us. We will have Asís and Daniel from Outcomes10. They are both market access experts. And also we have Norman from Nextep. Both are companies from ProductLife Group. Please note that this session is going to be recorded, and we are also going to share this session to you through email after the webinar has ended. And we will also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. It will be like 10 minutes Q&A. Please feel free to post your question in the Q&A section. And after the webinar, we will be responding to all the questions that you have. And yeah, that's it. So please, thanks for the speakers to share your knowledge with us, and you can start.
So, Fernando, I introduce myself. I start.
Up to you, Norman. I think that we have already introduced you the speaker,
Okay.
so you can start.
So hello to everyone. So today, with Asís and Daniel, we will give you an overview about the different aspects of the market access activities in France and in Spain. We will make a quick introduction about the regulatory landscape for the medical devices in Europe. After, I will share with you some data about the French market for medical devices and the main procedure to get the reimbursement of your technologies, your innovative technologies in France, and also go through the economic negotiation with the French Health Ministry to get a reimbursement price. After, Daniel and Fernand and Asís will talk about the Spanish market, which is different from the French one. And at the end, we will introduce you some more elements, additional information about the ProductLife Group market and patient access capabilities. So first, I think it will be just some reminders for all of you about the regulatory framework that is present in Europe about all the medical devices. So the last MDR regulation has changed a lot of things about how to apply and how to be accessible for the patient in Europe. So as you know, we have 4 different classes of medical devices. The class 1 is for the low-risk medical devices, and the manufacturers can draft and make a self-certification. And for the 3 other class of medical devices, so class 2A, class 2B, and class 3, the class is different depending on the risk for the patient and the users. You will need a notified body assessment and or a clinical trial data to prove the efficacy and the safety of your technologies. Regarding the pathway and the duration of the different actions to get the CE mark, it depends on the class of your medical devices, but it takes some time. And in Spain, the IMPS and the NSM in France are in charge of the supervision of all this market. So when you are a class 3 medical device, you know that you need to draft, you need to set up a clinical trial. And on this slide, we just share with you what we are seeing in France and in Spain regarding the different timelines to design the protocol, get the ethical and French authorities approvals, and after the conduct of the clinical trial. So it's just an example of the timing, but depending on your therapeutic area, depending on your technology, the timeline could be different. More specifically for the French market, I think that the first information you need to keep in mind that is on the French market, you have different processes to get the reimbursement. but we work with some kind of national list. So when you are reimbursed, when you get the reimbursement for your medical device, all the regions, all the area in France use the same list. So it's different from other countries in Europe. We also have a different procedure to get the reimbursement, depending on the maturity, the degree of development of your technology. Just a few data, a few numbers about the French market. So in 2023, the total amount of budget linked to the medical devices was around 14 billion euros. It's on two different lists. So you can see that we have 1 billion for the LPPR list, which is the most common list. And we have other fundings for medical devices. The average increase every year is around just under 4% every year. The French Health Authority, HAS, is the organization which is in charge of the scientific evaluation of all the medical devices. And just for your information, last year, 225 new products have been evaluated by the HAS, okay? It was evaluated for a first registration, the renewal, because normally every 5 years, you need to get the renewal, or a modification of the indication. Among them, 114 were new products on the market. So it was the first time that the manufacturers applied for the reimbursement. And for 84% of them, they get an approval for the reimbursement. And for 22% of them, they get an increase in terms of services. You need to understand that in France, we always compare a technology to the other ones which are already reimbursed in France. And the comparison will be a good point for you. For example, if you are able to prove that your technology is provides a better clinical benefit, normally you will have a better price in terms of reimbursement. Slide, it's important to just give you some information about the 4 main institutions involved in the reimbursement process. On the left, with the ANSM, I already talked about this institution. They are relevant for the regulatory aspects of your entry on the French market. On the right, the HAS, so it's the French FTA. The HAS is in charge of the scientific medico-technical evaluation of your medical device. After, you have the Ministry of Health and the CPS. The Ministry of Health is in charge of negotiating and defining the reimbursement price for the technologies. And the last step is with the payer, assurance maladie in French, which is the organization in charge of pay the healthcare professional, the hospital, and the manufacturer. So we have two different situations, two different cases in France, depending on the use of your technology. If your technology is used in the outpatient home care situation, you will need to be registered on the LPPR if it's an individual use for a patient. Okay, for example, we have the example of the orthosis, lowering prosthesis for amputees, this kind of medical devices. If your technology will be used by the healthcare professional, and if it's a collective use, your medical device will be paid through a code, through a medical procedure. So on the left, it's for the home care. On the right part, you have the hospital situation, the inpatient, and your technology will be paid included in a DRG for some of them. But if your technology, for example, some implants, some cardiovascular implants, you could get an additional reimbursement on top of a DRG. Okay? And at the end of the webinar, I will be available to reply to all your questions about the differences between hospital and home care. On this slide, it's the common flow to get the reimbursement in France. So first step, CE mark. The second step is the scientific and medical technical evaluation by DHS. Officially, the timing is 3 months for this scientific evaluation, but the service of evaluation of the medical devices will send you some additional questions. So in the reality, this scientific evaluation is more around 4 to 5 months. After you get the approval from the DHS, you go for the second step, which is the economic negotiation with the CPS. And this negotiation could last 2 months. If, for example, you are asking for the same reimbursement price as your competitors, or it could last, for example, 1 year if you are totally new and if you want different pricing. And the last step is it's more an administrative step. It's the registration and the publication of the decree informing officially that you are reimbursed. So between the time you apply for the reimbursement through the DHS and the time you get the official reimbursement, the average is 9 to 12 months. On this slide, I provide more details about the pathway, about the flow. Keep in mind that if the DHS, the French Health Authority, does not approve the clinical benefit of your technology, it stops the procedure. So you won't go through the negotiation with the CPS. The CNEDIMS, which is part of the DHS, is a scientific committee composed of different healthcare professionals, specialists, and composed of patient association representatives and statistician methodologists, for example. The CNEDIMS is in charge to give you, to say if your product provide a clinical benefit, and is in charge of evaluate if your technology provide a higher benefit compared to your competitors. And you can see a small table here, which is the different levels of improvement. If you get level 1, it's more related to morbidity and mortality, okay? So it's not possible for every types of medical devices. You have level 2, level 3, and for example, level 5, it's no improvement. So the DHIS thinks that your technology is very similar to the other ones, and the clinical benefit is the same for the patient. And okay, focus on the LPPR because the LPPR it's the national list of the medical devices reimbursed in France. I think that 95% of the medical devices commercialized by the manufacturers will be addressed by this LPPR. On this LPPR, you have 2 different possibilities. The first one is the generic line. The generic line is the fact that for some pathologies, for some types of technologies, for example, technologies which are on the market since 25 years, for example, which are very well known, which became some kind of standard, the French Health Authority define a list of technical specifications. For example, we have this kind of technical specification in respiratory, for example, okay? And if your product complies with the technical specifications, is used in the same indication and with the same function, it's some kind of very fast track for you to be reimbursed in France. So you do not need to have an assessment by the CNEDIMS, it's a self-registration. But with the generic line, you do not have any impact on the pricing, okay? So you will have exactly the same reimbursement price as your competitor. The generic line is more for, it's not, I don't know if I can say it, but it's not for the very innovative technologies. When you have a new technology, you will be on the second cases. The second case is the brand name registration. It's more for innovative product. When you apply for a brand name registration, you ask DHS to create your own line. It's important to understand that a brand name registration won't be usable for your competitors. For example, you bring a new technology, you get the reimbursement with a brand name for your technology. If 1 year after a competitor makes exactly the same technology, it won't be possible for your competitor to be reimbursed. So creating a brand name line for your technology is, in terms of competition, a strong barrier to get some advance in comparison with your competitor. With the brand name registration, you need to negotiate with the CPS your price. The PILIMS, the Scientific Committee of the HAS. So here you can see the list of the 5 main questions they will need to answer, and they will make the evaluation, okay? So the first is your technology provide a clinical benefit sufficient to be reimbursed? The first question. So it's the first vote. The second question is, do you provide an added value, an added clinical value for the patient? So after the first vote about is it sufficient or not, they will make a second vote about are you increasing a lot or a little bit the clinical benefit for the patient? The first question, and they will think about what is your position in the treatment line, because depending on your position on the treatment line, the comparator could be changed. It won't be the same. They will also define the target population. It's very important to have the right target population, because this target population will have an impact on the economical negotiation. You can understand that if the target population is very important, the global budget related to your technology could be very important for the French health security system. So it's a key point on your strategy. And after, they will evaluate the impact of your medical device on public health, and also the transposability of your clinical data through the common population. EDIMS evaluate your technology based on your clinical evidence specific to your product and the non-specific clinical evidence and the guidelines coming from launch societies. So on this table, it's a summary. As I mentioned, target population will have an impact on the price. Comparators will have an impact on the price, because if you get a small increase, a small improvement in comparison with a product which has a very low price, it will be more difficult for you to have a higher price in terms of reimbursement. Second evaluation could be done by the French Health Authority. It's an economic evaluation with the CESP. CESP is the Medical Economic Committee of the HAS. It's uncommon and very rare that for medical devices, you will have to make this additional evaluation. You need to provide an efficiency evaluation or a budget impact model only if you claim an increase around 1, 2, or 3, and if your global revenue after the second year of concession, it will be superior to 20 million. So I think that every year it's more for drugs, and every year we just have 2 or 3 medical devices maximum, which need this economic negotiation evaluation by the CESP. On this slide, I shall review the impact, the official doctrine regarding the pricing negotiation with the CEPS. So when you are at this stage, you get the approval from the HAS, okay? The opinion from the HAS will be published on the HAS website. So everybody has the information that they approve the clinical benefit, but your competitors, for example, will have the information that you're planning to get the reimbursement in France, okay? And the second step with the CPS, the economic negotiation, you can see on this slide that the improvement level approved by the HS will have a strong impact in terms of negotiation. The doctrine is that if you get as a level 1, 2, or 3, you should be able to get a higher price in comparison with your competitors, okay? If you get as a level 4, so you proved that you provide a higher clinical benefit, normally it should be cost neutral for health insurance. In the reality, you are able to negotiate because you have the data to prove that you're better. With ASA level 4, the doctrine is that we must save some cost. We must reduce the cost for the national health insurance, and the CPS could try to reduce a little bit the reimbursement price for your technology, and after get back to the other competitors to align all the pricing. Okay. With the CPS, it's a negotiation. So first, you drafted an economical note when you argue about the structure in terms of pricing, all your R&D actions, the clinical trials, etc. And the CPS will make an offer to you. And after you receive the offer, you will have 20 days to prepare a counter offer and send it to the CPS. And for example, depending on the complexity of the negotiation, you could have 6, 7, 8 rounds of negotiation with the CPS to find the best balance. If you do not reach an agreement with the CPS, you need to keep in mind that your technology won't be officially reimbursed in France. So you will have the HS opinion saying that your technology provides a better clinical benefit, but you won't be registered on the LPPR. At the end, the CPS has the end on the final pricing. The price in France, one of the elements taken in account to define your price in terms of reimbursement in France is the price, your pricing in the other countries. And for example, you need to share your pricing in Spain, Italy, UK, Germany. So the French Ministry of Health, the service in charge of negotiation, has a good overview about what is paid by the other countries. So, and I think that at the end, we will talk a little bit about discretion with Daniel and Asís. When you enter the French market, the Spanish market, or the other markets, you need to have a global overview of your European strategy to be sure that you will be able to address all the different markets with some kind of balance. I think it's okay for the French market, and I let you, Daniel and Asís, to continue for the Spanish market.
Yeah, sorry.
You are.
I couldn't talk. Sorry, I couldn't find the microphone. Thank you, Norman. Thank you for your part. So now we will try to explain a little bit the Spanish context in terms of reimbursement process of medical device. We can say that it's quite different from the French process, no? And in the end, we can also think that it is a very simple process, but that's also the reason why it's really important to have a really good and optimized strategy on the reimbursement of this medical device in Spain. No? So first of all, a little bit of introduction in numbers, as you can see here in the slide in the graphic in the left. The total health expenditure in Spain, almost 3/4 of the health expenditure is from the public sector, and you see also that this is growing every year, and not only the public healthcare expenditure, but also the total healthcare expenditure. You may know also that Spain is a decentralized country in terms of healthcare decision making. We have 17 regions in Spain and almost 850 hospitals right now in Spain. So as you can see in the right side of the slide, the total public healthcare expenditure comes in the vast majority from the regional governments. No, this is also like the explanation of what I was saying. No, that Spain is a decentralized country in terms of healthcare. In terms of medical device, we don't have official statistics on healthcare expenditure for medical device in Spain, but we know that the Spanish public healthcare institution represents between 75 and 80% of medical equipment and supplies market. And also we know that there's an estimate of 7.4 billion euros of the market for the market of medical device. No, this may represent from 7.5 to 10% of total public health expenditure. And we know also that 70% of the sector depends on imports and of foreign products. No? Having all of this in mind, we will try to explain a little bit the process. We know that there's not really a predefined pathway for the access of medical device, but also this is an important reason to build a really good strategy, a really optimized strategy to launch your medical devices in Spain. No? As you can see here, if you have a new product, we recommend also to go for the local access, then the regional access, and then the national common portfolio. Maybe you know a little bit more about medicines. In medicines, this would be the opposite, completely the opposite way, no? But in medical device, this is like the bottom-up approach we suggest, because there is no this specific predefined pathway, no. And now we will try to go in depth in each of the stages with my colleague Daniel.
Yes, thank you, Asís. I'm going to start with the hospital setting. I don't know if I have control of yeah, give me a second, please. Right. Yes, so let me begin with this hospital setting. So in Spain, we have more than 400 public hospitals. Here, medical devices are purchased through public tenders. This is important to know. And the only formal requirement here is to have the CE mark. So once you have the CE mark, keep in mind that you can go to a public hospital. Some of these hospitals have evaluation committees, and these evaluation committees advise the purchasing decisions, but not all of them. So in principle, you could go to every hospital. But here, yeah, the question that we may have is, what hospital do we start by, and how do we do this? So to gain access to the hospital market, we need to carry out studies on, for example, incidence, prevalence, and resource utilization. And this will help us to identify which hospitals have the greatest need for our product. These studies will give us the opportunity to present the hospital team with an actual solution for their unmet needs. And during this process, we will also be identifying some key opinion leaders who can become champions for our product. Obviously, this process will lead to some tenders in an organic way when the key opinion leaders have tried the product and they have some trust in it. And this will lead to some tenders that will enable the adoption for our product in those hospitals. Yes, so once we have reached the hospital level, the next logical step would be to move to the regional level. This is what Asís was talking about before. So we have 17 different regions. Each region has their own government. The government of the regions make decisions on public spending. They get the money from the central government, but they make the decision. So they have the capacity of making decisions about, for example, education, but also healthcare. So here you will see now, this is, each region has a portfolio of products that complements the national one. I will take later about the national common portfolio, but now it's more important to focus on the regional portfolio. So this portfolio is organized by their government, and they decide which products are funded or not. What means actually is that if there is a patient with the indication for your product in the region, this patient will have the right to get the product. So this product will be funded 100%. And if it's not funded in the regional, like in this complementary regional portfolio, then it will depend on the hospital. So if the patient is assigned to a hospital, they will get the product. But if they are assigned to a hospital where the product is not, they won't have the product. This is why it's important to get to the regional portfolio. Yes, so here the idea is that with the momentum generated by local use, the support of some key opinion leaders, and the evidence we gathered since the product's local introduction, now the regional governments may become interested in including our product in their portfolio. To do so, they may request sometimes an assessment by the Regional Health Technology Assessment Agency, which we will discuss later on. But yes, the paper of these agencies is more important in the national level. But you should know that it might happen, and at this point you need to have some evidence published to help to these evaluations. Fine, and now we are in the regional access, and the next step is to go to the national common portfolio. Let me show you here, because when you have a product that is close to be a standard of care, and this product is included in regional portfolios and is being used in almost all hospitals in the country, you may want to go to the national level and to try to include it in the basic common portfolio. But to be there, you need to have a REDETS evaluation that we will talk about it now. But as in the previous case of the regional common portfolio, if you are in the basic common portfolio, this will ensure that any patient with the appropriate indication can benefit from the technology, no matter where they are in Spain. Let's first speak about this common portfolio of services. So this includes not only techniques, procedures, and know-how, but also technologies. And this is where the medical devices go to technologies. And the inclusion of a device in the common portfolio will ensure that, as I said, if there is any patient that needs it, they will receive it. The criteria for including a product here is obviously efficacy and safety. You will have an evaluation that will measure this, but also it's becoming increasingly important, the utility and efficiency. And this is REDETS who will have a look into these things, but we'll say more about this now. And you should know as well that the common portfolio is updated each certain time. So there are some periodic updates, but they can include some new products, as for example, your product, but they can also exclude products. And this may happen if there is lack of evidence, or for example, if they have lost their health interest. For example, imagine a product that becomes obsolete because there is a new one that does the same thing but better and cheaper. So your product will be excluded in this case. Yeah, and let me now talk about this net of agencies that I was saying before. So to be included in the common portfolio, a prior evaluation by REDETS is required. So as you can see here, not all regions in Spain have their own evaluation agency, but many do. And all of them make up what we call the Health Technology Assessment Network, REDETS. So here the Ministry of Health or the regions can request reports from REDETS to decide whether or not to include a new product in the portfolio. And this is important because you as a manufacturer or a commercializer, you cannot ask for an evaluation. So it has to be done. So this is why I said that this procedure needs to be done organically, because it is going to be the Ministry of Health who is going to request the evaluation for including your product, but you don't have a window where you can deposit the dossier of your product to be evaluated. So this is something important to keep in mind. And yeah, finally, when REDETS begins evaluating a product, they will consider not only its efficacy and safety, but also economic evidence. At this stage, it is essential that our product has published evidence in reliable sources, as this is information that REDETS will use for the evaluation. Keep in mind as well that economic evidence is also crucial. Some of the agencies conduct their own economic assessment, like cost-benefit analysis, while others will only review the existing published literature. So it's important to have some good evidence published in PubMed. Yeah, finally, with the REDETS report in hand, the Interterritorial Council, and the Directorate General will make a funding decision. Yeah, but as I said, we must keep in mind that this is the final step of in a long-term process that needs to be built gradually. So therefore, for the successful introduction of the product into the Spanish market, it is essential to develop a strategy from the very beginning. And yeah, of course, this is where the PLG group can help you. And I'm going to give the word to Asís to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. No, and thank you, Daniel, and also to take or to put a point on what you just said. No, the strategy is essential. The strategy in each of the countries and a strategy at a European level, as Norman also was saying before, no? And that's why PLG market and patient access unit, we can help you on this, no? Just a little note on this, and how can we support you, no? We support normally our clients in the early engagement phase, in the pricing strategy, and in the health technology assessment, in the HEOR and real-world evidence generation, also in the public affairs and coalition building, and doing patient programs, supporting you in the development of patient programs, no? And also we cover almost all the countries in the world right now, as you can see as you can see in dark blue, with PLG owned resources, or in light blue with PLG partners, no? That's all from our part. Q&A session, whatever you want. I hope you find this interesting and helpful.
Yeah, let's go for the Q&A. So first, thanks a lot, Norman, Asís, and Daniel, for sharing your knowledge with us. Big thanks also to the participants for your attention. So now we can move to the Q&A. So I invite everyone to post their question in the Q&A section, and our expert will be happy to answer them. So let's see, we have some question. We don't have any for the moment. Let's wait a bit. Yep, we have a question from Munia. Thanks for the question, Munia. What about the combined products? Do you have any insights about this, Daniel, Asís, or Norman?
Sorry, what does she mean with
Yeah,
combined products?
Munia, the combination products, like a drug plus a medical device. I think that Munia is asking us specifically, will you have any insight about this kind of products?
At least in Spain, this should go through different pathways. The drug through the drug pathway, and the medical device through the medical device pathway. No, it's true that we have experienced that, at least in Spain, it's really, let's say, it's not easy to reimburse the medical device when you have also a drug, no? And in some cases, the company provides the medical device, let's say, for free, and then they get paid for the drug. But this should be a study case by case, and we should see exactly what type of product and what type of medical device we have there. No? I don't know, Norman, if in France is...
It's the same system in France. It's case by case, but for information, when we draft the scientific file to be provided to the French health authority, they have some question about the accessories, for example, and the other component for the right use of the technology, the complete use. So, and we have this kind of question too, for example, for the digital medical devices, the digital solutions, which include some kind of more standard medical device, and for example, the remote monitoring technology, the software. So it's case by case. We didn't have a lot of examples in France. But for all these projects, we have the possibility to have some meetings, some previous meetings, some early meetings with the HAS, with the authorities, to talk about the project and see what could be the best strategy. So we can prepare in advance before applying for the reimbursement, and for example, for technologies combining drugs and medical devices. But it's a case by case for the wine.
Great. Perfect. So thanks a lot. We have another question from Stella. This is related to Spain. Can a medical device get regional reimbursement without the RED ETS evaluation?
Yeah. In this case, it would not be an evaluation of REDETS. It would be an evaluation of the specific agency of that region, because REDETS is for all Spain. The simple answer is no. So the region can decide whatever they want, but they usually do this kind of evaluation even if they have the decision already made. Yeah, you don't need it, but depends on the region.
Okay, great. Thanks, Daniel. Perfect. We have another question. If we have registered or class 1 medical product to Eudamed, can we sell freely to Spain and France? Not sure if you have any insight about this.
I'm not a regulatory affairs expert, and we know that regarding the Eudamed database, the timeline has been changed month after month. But just for example, in France, normally before you had to inform the ANSM about the fact that you are commercializing, marketing your technology in France. For example, you get the reimbursement and you inform the ANSM that you will start to commercialize your technology. If you are already registered on the Eudamed database, you do not have to do the national step in France, you know? So if all the information are registered on the Eudamed database for your technology, you have, for example, if you are not a European company, you have the legal representative, different, etc. It should be okay. But I'm not a regulatory affairs expert.
Thanks, Norman. If you have some regulatory increase or doubt, please feel free to reach out by email, and we have regulatory affairs expert, and I'm pretty sure that can support you in this kind of question. We have another question from Celine. Thanks a lot for the question, Celine. In Spain, what is the average duration to get the medical device from hospital setting to the inclusion in National Basic Common Portfolio? Do you have any insight?
It's really difficult to say, actually, because it depends on what are you doing of all the things that we were telling before, and how are you targeting the KOLs, how are you targeting the main regions, how are you targeting the key stakeholders in each of the country, of the regions and of the hospitals, no? But you can have, let's say, and also you should undergo the HTA, and this is not a quick process, let's say, no. But yeah, I would not say any time, but for sure more than 6 months. For sure, 6 to 12, for sure.
Okay, thanks, Asís. So we have another question for Sophie. Sophie first says, "Thank you for the webinar." Thanks you also, Sophie. Do you have any advice for medical devices using artificial intelligence? For example, AI-powered diagnostic platform. Are there specific procedures to follow in France and Spain?
Regarding the artificial intelligence, it depends on the type of medical device. But if you are including this kind of feature, you will need to be very precise about what are the impacts of this feature. For example, if I take an example of digital therapeutics, for example, is the AI only acting on the recommendation in terms of modules, for example? So the AI, depending on the outcomes, recommend this module for this week, or if it's AI used for the support, for example, with some bots. So the impact will be different, but in terms of in France, we have the INS certification. So we have the market reimbursement evaluation. And in parallel, for the digital medical devices, we have the INS evaluation, which evaluate all the components, all the structure, architecture of your software, for example. So you will need to provide a precise description of all the elements about your technology. So I could say that AI is new, so you will need to be very precise and to explain maybe more to the evaluator what is the impact of the AI in your technology.
Yeah, in Spain, I would say the same. There's no right now a specific platform or a specific regulation on this, but for sure you should explain really well your main competitive advantage with AI, and for sure this will be seen as an advantage.
Okay, great. So I don't see any more question. I'm not sure if you can hear me or my connection is super bad. Hello?
Yeah, it works
No?
now. Yep.
Hello, sorry, my connection was super. Saying that we don't have any more question, that we can close the webinar. Thank you to all the participants for attending. Also, thank you, Daniel, Asís, and Norman. Sorry,
But no,
could you hear me now?
Yeah, maybe a reminder that also PFG is organizing a workshop for preparing your medical devices regulatory strategic plan in the Netherlands. So we will, or you can share also, Fernando, with all the participants this information.
Yeah, after this webinar, you all the participants will receive an email with all the information about this webinar, and also like in all the events that we have in the month of April. Among those events, we have this workshop, especially for Dutch participants. We could see that we have some Dutch participants, so I'm pretty sure that you can be interested about it. Also, apart from this workshop, we'll have some other MedTech webinars in the month of April. They will be delivered by our affiliate Strategical, and we will inform you better about the topic that we will treat here. And also, I can inform you that we will have a specific webinar on AI by the month of April. We are going to promote it through LinkedIn, so please feel free to follow us, because through our LinkedIn page, you will be informed about all the events and webinars that we are going to deliver during the month of April, and for sure during the rest of the year. So now I think that we can definitely close it. Again, thanks a lot for participating. Thank you, Daniel, Asís, and Norman, and see you in the next events. Thanks a lot, Sarah. We can close.
Thank you. Bye.